Clueless is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, happy publishing day to all of you. I am so glad to be in fall. The heat of the summer is kind of past, but who knows where it's going to go with our wild, wild weather we have now. What we're going to be talking about through the month of October is really a lot of foundational work, and I'm going to be leading all the sessions. And the very, 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 very beginning has got to start with a platform. And a lot of times when authors get going on it, this thing called writing, this thing called publishing, they leapfrog ahead and forget about the infrastructure, the foundation. Well, that's what platforms do and are about. So with that said, let's just start off with, are you an author? Are you a wannabe author? Do you have a platform? Do you know what one is? And those are critical questions. So every author, every book needs a platform. It's the stage, the very foundation of your book and your authoring business to come. Platforms do not happen by themselves, and they do not happen overnight. You want to think of a platform this whole publishing process is like a village, and you create it and you are the mayor of it. So yes, authoring and publishing are businesses, and that's where the infrastructure comes into play. As I said, they don't happen overnight. They take a lot of time, and there are steps. Some are teeny, very small, and some are large, huge. And then, of course, there's all the in-betweens that will transition you from just an idea for your current book, your next book, or even go back to revisit, that start you as the expert or an amazing storyteller. So the book I'm going to recommend to you, which is really a workbook that I created a few years ago, is called Author U, Creating and Building Your Author and Book Platforms. It's an extraordinary and it's an interactive guidebook. There are 22 activities I have within it, and that it's what I've used. Although, when I started writing, we didn't have these things called platforms. We didn't call them platforms. I mean, we were just going to do a book, right? So in it, you're going to discover how to create a successful book plan, finding time and the money to do it, how to identify which publishing venue is the right one for you, how to use simple ways to get to the core of your book and understand the core is so essential, so essential. In fact, what I want you to think about right now before I go further is, what is the core of what you're writing about? What's the theme? If it's nonfiction, what are the key elements? If it's fiction, what are your conflicts? What's the plot? Who are your main players and your characters? Who causes the problems? What's the effect of them? They all go together. Right? So with that, I tell people to rank them. So come in with 5 of them. Rank them. And as you get to which is the number one, that is going to be the ultimate element that will guide you through the process to get your book completed. When I wrote my book, How to Create a $1 Million Speech, that it really came down to that is you can make money, you could have fun, you get to travel a lot, but the reality is that you can make a full-time career out of it. All right. So what's the core? What are you trying to show? So you need to carve out time and space to craft your masterpiece that's going to unfold. And then you need to be able to identify which of the internet and social media features will work for you in your book. And this is something I do with all my authors. What are the top 2 social media sites you should be on? Don't kiss them all. You're going to go cuckoo. So what are the top 2? And then decide which other ones you might want to bring into play. And that it's really important to know that there's going to be a lot of potholes along the way. In next week's episode, I'll be talking about some of the publishing predators that you will be lured into and how to get out of some of the traps. And then you've got to be able to really create the components, bring them into play of creating a really successful book launch that has momentum and then can keep going. So, with that said, platforms start with a statement of fact. Why you wrote or are writing your book. Why you're the author for it. Why you're committed to its theme and topic. And what value you bring to the reader. And this is something a lot of people don't really even noodle on. What are the benefits to the reader? And I think that it's really important to understand what are the takeaways, the value that the reader will learn from, that will engage in, will escape with, depending upon, is this a storytelling, entertaining type book, or is this a how-to, awareness, solving a problem, bringing your knowledge to a forefront you hadn't even realized. What kind of book is it? Right? So, and when you do this, you're going to do it with confidence, clarity, competence, and commitment. So that's where we're going to start as we go through this thing. And I'm going to go through some of these elements for it. And, I'll share some of my keepers and some of the exercises. But it really starts with the very first activity I had in the Author U, creating and building your author and book platforms book, is to begin with your platform awareness. So, first question is, what separates you from all the other authors who are writing on it? Don't think you're the only person who has ever written on this topic. It's not true. So, who is out there? And what is your experience, your travels, your job that you've had, your training, maybe your research? How does that separate you from the crowd? And then the next thing you really want to noodle on is, what are you really good at that? It could be that you're an ace storyteller. It could be that you're able to get the really muddled, complex situation into something that is succinct and understandable with clarity. All right. Then I think for writing, most writers don't write full time. Oh, yes, Stephen King does. And oh, yes, fiction, David Baldacci does. Oh, yes, Annie Lamont does. Judy Blume does. But until you can really say you can make a living with your words, that you're going to be probably doing other work. And a lot of writers write in the wee hours of the morning or late at night, or they binge it and they do it on weekends, or they take time off. No, I, for one, I'm a binge writer. I will knock off a whole draft of a book in a week because there's nothing else pounding on me to distract me. Find out what works for you and you calendar it in so it comes into play. The reason why I tell people don't quit the day job until you really have it, unless you've got substantial funds behind it, because you need to pay your bills. It's that simple. And that there is writing isn't done overnight, but it does take time to do that. All right. So going back to what separates you from the pack of other writers who are writing on your topic. And this is a good time to do, whether it's a mind map or just a list that you've got two, science pro, con, and you just start writing words and elements that will reaffirm who you are and what you're doing. If you've been blogging or doing other articles, that will help you bring it in and get yourself focused. And actually, you may be sitting with a whole bunch of work already that you can fine-tune and bring into play. So, building your platform, and it comes about with elements that are going to come into play. And as those go along, it's your attitude that will carry you forward. So, what's in your platform? And I have to reinforce this. There is nothing accidental about creating it. All successful businesses have a platform, their basis, their infrastructure. All successful authors have a platform, their infrastructure. And their survival and success depends on it. And so will yours. So as you go through it, you get into it, and you're going to find that as we build through this, and we're coming up to our first break, but I will get into the 3 essential elements: your passion, your vision, and your commitment. A lot of times people ask about your platform thinking it's all your social media contacts. It's how many people you have on your email list. That is doing it backwards. You've got to come with your energy. You've got to come in with what drives you. What's that passion that brings you into it? And then how do you see it taking you? The vision. And then, of course, that element that will bring you along and get you across the finish line. And that is called the commitment. You're listening to Author You, your guide to book publishing. I'm Judith Briles, the book shepherd. We'll be right back.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? Author You shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. Author You brings in national experts for its book camps and annual Author You extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author You's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. Author You is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author You is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover Author You, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join Author You today at authoryou.org. Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so as I ended the last segment, I opened up sometimes a can of worms for people with passion, vision, and commitment. So with that said, let's get into those. And it's really what's in your platform and what's your intentionality. So a few more questions. What's important to you? Integrity as an author, for example, or are you known for your charity and clarity of expression, perhaps? Will you be working with many people as you develop or grow your book baby? What trust levels are important for others with whom you will work and you must trust? What do you feel passionate about when you think of your writing, your project, your book? How much time will you commit to it? How much time will you commit to the marketing of your book? How much money will you commit to creating and publishing and marketing your book? What time factors or constraints do you work under in your life, at work, at play, within your family, for yourself? What inspires you? And I think this is always good to ask. What does author success mean to you? Now, for some people, it means making a lot of money. For some people, it's selling a lot of books, which means making a lot of money. For some, it means getting my cause out there. For some, it means being in the media. For some, it means having people call you to come speak. So what does success mean to you? Many times authors tell me, well, I really don't want to make a lot of money, but, I want to get my book out there. I want to be able to donate to a cause that is very near and dear to me. Well, that means you need to sell books and you need to make money so you can give the money away. Now, there are things that you can do on the marketing side where you could partner with charities and your causations, and whatever proceeds come in, can go to it. You may want to put some strings attached to it, covering your cost, saying you say all the net profits go. Some of you may have funds that's not the issue. You're willing to seed the project. You're willing to pay for everything to get it out there. And you're willing to turn over whatever book sales come in full to the event. But what's important is to know up front what you want to do. So with that said, let's talk about what the passion is. So what would your book look like if you just concentrated on your passion? Is it to have an intention with it? Is it marketing a product that's behind it? Is it intent maybe on making you a celebrity? What's important for your book? Why are you writing it? Now, for some of you, you may be writing for things that could be very topical. Climate is certainly topical right now. Politics is very topical right now. And if you get into those things, remember that you're narrowing your market. You may have windows where your book would be more viable than at other times because of what's hot in the news. So one of the phrases, which is always important to understand because this is timing, and I'll get into the components when you're looking at, how am I going to publish? What venue am I going to use? That it's always important when you're into certain topics that having some control, having your input valued and honored which could be that going with a traditional publisher might not be the right thing, because typically working with a traditional publisher, they have their own ideas of what they're going to push out, how they're going to position it. And it may be totally opposite of what you feel is appropriate, which may mean you need to publish it yourself, or find a small press who will honor more a mavericky approach to something in it. Timing is also really essential. There are things that come along that you have to really look at on the timing factor for yourself. Is that sometimes you're ahead of the curve, sometimes you could end up being behind the curve. So if something is very, very topical, that's going to mean you need to expedite getting it out. And again, looking at a traditional models, that they're looking at publishing in most cases anywhere from 18 months to the time a contract is signed, a commitment to you that they're going to publish your book, 18 months to almost 2 years. If you have something that is hot, you need to have a shorter time frame. Again, you'll have to look at for alternates of where you are going to go. So understanding that, but that's your what's the passion behind it that drives it? All right. What's your passion? And what's your vision? How do you see this baby laying out? Do you have a vision on what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel when a paper book is in the hand, or when an ebook is laid out, or an audiobook, which you certainly should consider and have in your mix as well. How is it going to sound? Is it your voice, or is it a professional narrator's voice? And I know a lot of authors want to be the reader of their book, but if they just read the book like Dick ran over the ground, that Dick and Jane was books we learned to read on years ago, or decades ago, I should say. But is it going to be a plain, the road to your success as an author will most likely be cloaked with detours, or the road to your success as an author will most likely be cloaked with detours? So you have to learn to read and lead it with phrasing, with emotion, with pausing. If you don't read out loud that way, you may not be the right person to read your book. And that's when you want to get a narrator in. And there's all kinds of variables to go that way. But what's the vision? Is it print? Is it ebook? Is it audiobook? Could it go to the movies? Is a screenplay in play? What is the factor there? All right, next up is confidence, is everything to move you forward. And with it, trust me, anything is possible. When you get hit with some of these potholes, and let me tell you, there are massive potholes. I'm telling you, one of my biggest books, I was resistant to go into technology when technology was really coming along. Do you remember back when our computers and anything we could do on a computer type screen was called word processing? And that I was really resistant because I had spent a lot of money on this state of the art, the creme de la creme IBM 50-page memory typewriter. And it cost me $3,500, by the way, for Office. And I just thought it was the cat's meow, the best of the best. Who else would want anything? And I had a secretary who was hounding me to get a word processor. And I finally caved in. I rented one. I leased it for 90 days, and it was something like $900 a month. Very expensive. And this was back in the early 80s. And I leased it, and I thought Louis Shirley would love this big fancy typewriter we got. Well, she loved the word processor, and she went on vacation, and we got left instructions for me on how to use it if I needed to. And of course, I assured her I wouldn't need it. And what happened was my agent called me and said, I need to have you make these changes and get get this back to me. And so I had instructions. I can read instructions. And within 3 minutes, I had deleted everything. It was gone forever. Forever. What we had to do was type that baby all over again. And for whatever reason, because it was more than 50 pages, it was 300 pages, I did it in the word processor, and I realized this was a gem. Oh my gosh, I could copy, paste, I could move things around. This was hot. And so I came in, I had to be roped into using technology back in the 80s and never looked back to expedite what I do. It doesn't mean that I don't write by hand, because I think that's really important when I'm working on ideas. I am a huge note taker and going in and bringing it in. I have files I drop things in not knowing that these are going to be chapters and things go along. I tear out articles. I print out articles. I use all that because it's the way I operate best. Everyone operates some way best, and that's what you have to find. But it's your confidence that's going to move you forward to your success. And there is going to be detours. There is going to be barriers. There is going to be potholes all along. So your confidence as an author is woven with the magic seed, courage. And you do need to be courageous. As an author, you are courageous. You're opening up your vulnerability. You're laying that out and going forward. And you're willing to tackle controversial topics because you are the expert. So your courage is throughout the author's fabric. And as your words pour forth, your thoughts and your ideas will continue to shape. And in them, the author becomes the conduit to your end player, the reader. You take him or her into the world of opportunity, your solutions, your dreams, your storytelling. And I have to tell you, it is an amazing honor all we authors have, and we share. It's a unique community. It's one that you will love being in as you go forth. All right, so we're up to our next break. It's Author U Guide to Book Publishing, and we are talking about platforms today.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
For you and your book, passion and vision are similar. Similar in that if you are a devotee of either, you know that you can stand alone or be happily merged with another ingredient. But for the author and book, togetherness is a must. One without the other creates a mediocre outcome. That's why you've got a huge commitment factor here. And that with the author's passion factor, think of it as the opera. I mean, when I can't understand Italian. I don't have a gift for languages, but I can hear the passion. I can hear the passion in the singing. And without it, it wouldn't be the opera. Same with your book. So as an author, being passionate about your topic is essential. It's critical. And you must care about your topic, your book, your writing. I think one of the problems when I see people get ghosts in and they turn it over to someone to take all these notes and all these goodies, the passion factor is missing unless they get truly actively involved and going after it all together. And that's what makes it exciting to me, is really, feeling like you've got the flow and you can hear it, and it's moving along and it makes it exciting. So when you look at this, think about, is your writing engaging? If you're a fiction author, do your characters resonate with the reader? Do they care? Even bad guys, do they care what happens? I remember reading one of the National Book Award winners. I struggled to get through it. And what I realized, I don't care about any of these people. I don't care who they are. I don't care what happens to them. By God, I'm just going to get through this thing because it was a National Book Award winner. And then I resolved I will never read probably a book again if it's a National Book Award winner, if it's endorsed by certain things. I mean, was the writing good? Yes, it was excellent writing. But I didn't care about these people. And I think that's so important for you. If you write nonfiction, do your examples or stories or illustrations connect with the reader as if you were having that conversation with them, like I'm having with you? Does the reader sense that you care about how they respond to your words? And when your book is opened, does the reader fall in? When you have passion for your topic, it radiates everywhere. In your conversations with friends, from the stage as you speak, in media-related interviews. If you participate in book clubs, your fans enthusiastically look forward to meeting you, whether through a local event, within their living rooms, or over Skype or Zoom. My passion that morphed me away from personal finance, a genre within which I had successfully published multiple books with traditional publishers and made my living, was seeded from the financial embezzlement I experienced in the 80s, where a female partner had withdrawn monies for her personal drug use from a commercial credit line that I had personally guaranteed. The misuse of the funds only surfaced when they were all gone. Little had been paid to the many contractors who had provided building services. I'd been duped. Now, I'm not dumb. how did that happen? I had to go back to school in my attempt to unscramble the mess that she and her husband and other partners had made. Seated by the "I'm not dumb, how did I get duped" nudge, I started looking at women in their workplace relationships. I read and I wrote papers as I worked through the course work for my doctorate in business. I was clueless at that time as to what the vision for all my work was, besides just surviving, because I went back to school to figure out how to get out of this mess and to save the project they stole the money from. But I was passionate about the topic I was probing, and of course, survival. I was ready to start putting it all together and my life back. That incident started me on a path that led to multiple books, speaking engagements, consulting contracts, and being a corporate spokesperson for over a 25-year period. I became the go-to person if there was toxicity and conflict in the workplace. That wasn't in my vision. The vision came from the passion that was seated and my awareness of a topic and situation. Working with sabotaging other women, what the problem is, its causation, the effect, and finally, the solution. I created a career quest that spanned 4 decades. With a total of 6 books on the topic, being identified as a pioneer and conducting 9 national studies, I'm still as passionate about the topic as I ever was. And I have to tell you, it ticks me off when people undermine other people, especially women, doing it to other women. Now today, I'm not out talking about sabotage and toxic workplaces. My passion is really publishing and getting the word out and showing other authors how they can do it by taking that vision and their passion and combining them together, making the and turning it into a new successful adventure for them as they move along. So the way to think of this is authors coming to the authoring party from different routes. Rarely are these routes the same. What connects you with other authors is that each heard the publishing siren and each responded to it, just as you are doing right now. So that's the seeding. And as with most seeds, there is hope of great things. For me, my only vision was to create a book that was desired. And that's the V, and that was a lowercase. I did, and I thought it would be the only topic. My vision never saw multiple books, so it was quite limited in retrospect. Along with the publishing path, though, as more books were booked, I became a book publishing smart. Mistakes, oh boy, did I make them. Mistakes and mistakes with publishers along the way added to my smartness. Others asked me to tell them, show them about publishing. Writers, wannabe authors said, how did you do it? Should I go with New York? Should I try to go with New York? Or should I go on my own? By the time I had created my own publishing imprint, after publishing over a dozen books with traditional publishers in New York, I had a lot to say, to tell, and show. That seed grew, and it was fertilized and watered. Today, my passion is all about publishing, a field that is changing as quickly as the world turns. Helping authors publishing quality books is rewarding. Keeping them away from the publishing predators is something that I celebrate and enjoy their success when sales connect with their newfound fans is intoxicating. I love it, and I cheer for authors that I've had the pleasure to work with. This morning, I had an email from someone who just got an offer for Italian foreign rights. That is so exciting. That is so exciting when all of a sudden global comes into your perspective. Who wouldn't love what I do? So for you, the passion factor is as critical as breathing. If you don't have it from the get-go, your book will never develop the roots it needs to survive and thrive. Acquiring usually comes from curiosity on an event that triggers a quest. Yep, that new adventure, just as it happened to me. So you start with that passion factor in what's in your heart of hearts. What's in your heart of hearts while you're writing the book? Do you come away recharged and enthusiastic after sharing with others what you're doing? How's that make you feel? Summing up why you should be passionate and care about your book, what would that be? And for your book, you want to ask and answer, does your book solve a problem? Provide a solution, even to a topic that has been written and published about ad nauseum. When you tell others about your book's topic, do you get excited? Do you want a copy now? Do they tell you they want your book now? What is it, and how do they express their comments? And I want you to write those down, because those are little sticky notes you're going to put up that will be the pull-in that call you and beckon you, and the siren keeps coming out. That's where it goes. Now, it's important to understand this. Your book won't be perfect. Oh, you're going to find boo-boos. Confess. My first book. I'm flying back to New York to be on Good Morning America. I'm reading my book for, I don't know, the what time. And all of a sudden it pops in. What were you thinking, Judith? Why did you write it this way? Perfection. It is the worst enemy that you can. There are many times when good enough is the perfect boat to go out on. Because what perfection is procrastination. It holds you off and it stops you from moving forward instead of realizing it can be next. This is your next book. And no one told me, dear author, that I would have, at this time, this taping, 37 books. No one told me. I was just going to do my one book. Perfection is the enemy of the good. And your book could just be the next great thing if you will just let it out. Those dang missing typos that creep in and some late breaking story that you want to add, that goes into your next book. And there will be a next, I assure you. All right, so when we come back, we'll kind of bring this all together. We'll kiss on vision and the commitment, and then the magic thing that comes, people.
Is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
I always love this quote from Vincent van Gogh. For my part, I know nothing with any certainty but the sight of the stars makes me dream. So what makes you dream? That's that vision factor that comes into play. And it is, that passion, but the vision is what I said earlier. What does this baby look like? Where's it going to go? Who's it for? Who's it for? Is it for the general workplace? Is it for the beach read? Who is it for? The more you narrow yourself in that who it's for, the bigger the opportunity you have. Now, I'm going to give you 2 keepers. These have been really strong. I have another book I'm really going to highly recommend it. It's really my favorite little book. Get it for yourself. It's a gift to you. It's like a 4x6 in hardback. And it's called Snappy, Sassy, Salty. Wise Words for Authors and Writers. Snappy, Sassy, Salty. And it has over 250 of my quotes that I've created over the years. Here's 2 that I give to all the authors I work with. All the authors. And it is simply this. Don't do well what you have no business doing. Don't do well what you have no business doing. I mean, look at all of us are really clever in some things. We're crafty in some things. But if it's the wrong fit for what you're trying to do with you and your book, don't do well if you shouldn't be doing it right now. All right. And the other one that I think is really, really important is this one. If you never say no, your yeses are worthless. If you never say no, your yeses are worthless. And that's so important to understand that you can't say yes, 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 yes to everything. That if your goal is to get this book out, get it written, get it done, get it in people's hands, support it, commit to it, you're going to have to probably say no to a few things. And you need to tell friends. You have to let your family know. I mean, I have barrier tape. It's like crime tape. It says, authors at work, do not cross. And when people see it across my office door, they know you don't come in here. You're not invited. I am working. Even when I'm on cruise ships and I'm writing, it goes on the door. The porters know they can't come in. I'm working. So you have to understand that when you go along. It's very, very, very important. I just can't express that enough. Tie it in with your vision. How does that fit? Where does it go in that process? All right. So a few questions that you want to start with is what clearly is your vision? Understand that. Where do you go from there? Second is, I think you move along, and then you have a variety of other things that will open up and support you in that. And that will come in the area of just moving in that area and be willing, oh dear, to break the rules. Let's face it, doing the same old is downright boring, and it's equivalent to inhaling your own exhaust. So when you do, you risk stifling that creativity you need now and eliminating the sense of wonder, as in Van Gogh was saying, the stars open up his vision. Your sense of going into a realm that just may open up unbelievable and rewarding outcomes. And I can't tell you, in my years of writing, I've done over 10,000 interviews with men and women now, I always marvel at some of the gems, if I will just listen, that comes out. My sense of wonder goes into place of what people have done to overcome, to survive, to create, to make things happen. Just because an author you admire gets up every morning and writes from 4 to 7 doesn't mean you have to. You may not be a lark. I'm a lark, so I can do that. But you may be an owl, and you are up wee hours. So rule breaking can be fun, and it's really, truly quite liberating. It can be part of your vision as you enter this new territory, as you call an author. All right. Now, commitments. Commitments there are 3 components to the commitment factor to me. That is time. Are you going to make the time to do this? Are you going to do that? Is it money? Is it energy? Commitment means time, energy, and money. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a big nothing, truly. So it's the black hole for many. In fact, too many. You can have all the passion and vision, but if you aren't committed, let me tell you, you're going to fail. If you can't commit that time, that energy, and whatever the money is that's going to make this baby happen, it's not going to happen. There are going to be plenty of times, I have to tell you, I wanted to toss in the towel, and there have been a few times when I've aborted a book. I said, nope, it's not going to work. It's not right. And that all came when I did a reassessment of my vision and my passion. So eagerly, you've got to really look forward to where you want to go. And you start with, let's just start with time. How much time will you put in supporting your book? Okay, you got to write it. Is it going to take you a year? Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be 5 years? Could it be a lifetime? All right. How much time? Writing a quality book is just one segment of this commitment triangle, that time, energy, and money. So you've got to let your contacts know that a book is coming and that a special speaking, I did special speaking discounts when I had a new book coming along. So I would be already booked to speak on the new baby when it came out. You, the author, must carve out time to support the new child of yours. You must create the time to connect with people, your fans, your clients, your crowd, tribe, readers, whoever, whatever category they fit into, to connect with the media, to write articles, to push out, to commit to other blogs. You must create the time to work the appropriate social media channels. This, my dear friend, is the business of being an author. And I always like to say, hey, if it isn't a fit, don't commit to putting your time in it. There are no exceptions. Now, when it comes to energy, how much do you need? And I'm going to tell you, lots would be the best response, but that could also change. No doubt your vision and passion will be the driving forces. Plus, there's the factor of money. You have an investment that you want to see a return on. Now, one of the things is that when you get into publish, a lot of authors embrace the RTP syndrome. That's the rush to publish syndrome. Don't rush yourself. Make sure that you have it so that you don't want to apologize for what you put out. And let me tell you, I have seen a lot of authors apologize post books. And frankly, I've apologized for book covers that traditional publishers have selected that I just hated with that. So How much energy do you need? Where do you need to pull it from? And there may be friends that give you energy, and there could be friends that might pull from you. So maybe you just lessen their time and pull from the ones that you can. And then money. Stories abound about how an author was down to his last $5 on a credit line before the big sale came in. You don't have to live with that dream or nightmare. Books do take money. The creation is many thousands of dollars at times. There are pre-publication costs. There's editing. There's a design of cover. There's interior. There's all that will come into play. All costs money. Be realistic. You want to have a book budget. So as we come to close this segment, I want to just think about having a vision game plan for yourself. And so with that game plan, you're going to start with who are the people you're writing for? What outlets will you produce your book in? Is it paper? Is it going to be ebook? Is it going to be audiobook? I'm going to suggest all three. What value do you bring to your writers? How are you going to stay connected? Who are the other people out there that might support you and shout out for you as well with that? Who do you need on your team? The editor, coaches, designers. Do you need illustrators? What kind of money am I going to need to support this? And I always have this on my game plans. What do I need to stay away from? What's my dump zones that I don't pass, that I don't go down and pull together? That's so essential to understand in the process. And then, what are your reward zones? I had rewards. Every time I finished a chapter, I had rewards for it. What are your reward zones? It could be big, it could be small, but you want to have something to move you along in that. And when I do a visual game plan, I'm visual, so I will do it laid out. I use sticky notes. I have a game plan, actually in the Author You book that I've mentioned earlier, creating and building your author and book platforms. There is a game plan in there to actually lay out these segments as you have them, and you can put it all together. So your author platforms, your book platforms, they are co-joined. You need them to be successful as you move forward with the current book you're working on, as well as other books that will come off of it and be their offspring. It will make a difference between your success. It will keep you away from mediocrity. It will keep you away from failure. I can't think of a better path for you to start on right now today. Review them. It's a guide plan. It's a roadmap for your author success. And with that, this is Judith Briles. I'm your book shepherd. We'll be with you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by Author You and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on the Rockstar Radio Network.